How many hats do you feel like you wear in one given day? How many plates do you feel like you're constantly spinning trying to manage it all? Because if you're a husband and a father, plus you're the leader in a ministry or you're the founder of a business, you know how crazy your day can get. And mornings begin the chaos because you're trying to get the kids ready for school. You know you have a day that is full throttle with meeting after meeting. And then when you get home, you have evening activities with the kids. You're driving them to practice. You're trying to make a game. And then you try to get some family time in there as well. And when you look at all of that and you're trying to make time for all of the things that are important, what's the first thing to go? It's you, your health, your strength, your well-being. You put everyone else first. And while serving and loving your family is a good thing, it is the right thing to do, you cannot lead them well if you're running on empty. You need to make sure that you are taking care of the body that God has given you, that God has entrusted you with, because the energy you have to give to others is directly related to how well you take care of your physical health. So with the body God has given you, I want you to ask yourself the question, are you stewarding it well? Now, this isn't about some unattainable goal of looking like Chris Hemsworth when he's training for a Thor movie. If that's your goal, that's awesome. More power to you. I don't think I have the genetics to reach that goal. What is applicable to everybody is, do you have the energy to play with your kids, to go on a hike with your wife, to throw the football around in the backyard and not just talk about your glory days? And if you can do all of that right now, what about in 5 years? What about in 10 years? In 20 years? Are you planning to stay in the game as long as possible, to be able to bring your best to your wife, to your kids, to your grandkids, to the people that God has called you to serve? Yes, we do not know what tomorrow holds, but we can set ourselves up well to be able to lean into and enjoy the life that God has given us for however long He gives it to us. I had a wake-up call about this a few years ago. I've always enjoyed exercising and working out. That part wasn't my problem. But when it came to my diet, I had the appetite and the disciplines of a 5-year-old when it came to eating. I loved Krispy Kreme, any kind of donut. I loved chips and queso. There was no way to outwork that diet. And I did dial it in when I was 40 and my metabolism started to slow down. But once I started to build my own business and ministry and I started to travel and my rhythms changed, slowly but surely, I started to get really relaxed on any type of parameters I'd set on the food that I ate. And even my commitment to working out started to drift. I remember about a year ago looking in the mirror and I wondered how I got to that place. It wasn't even so much about how I looked. It was about how I felt. My joints were starting to get a bit achy. My energy levels were really low. I was finding it was harder for me to sleep and wake up refreshed in the morning. And I had to take inventory of my life and realize that I'd started to let my physical disciplines slip. I wasn't as consistent in the gym. I wasn't as consistent about the quality nutrition I was putting in my body. And I realized that I had to make a change because I didn't want to keep going down the road that my current habits were leading me into. I needed to course correct. And it didn't take this dramatic crash diet or this super intense workout plan to get back on track. It took some slow and consistent change that transformed me from looking like this to 12 months later, looking like this. And that's not the most dramatic transformation you're going to see online. I'm not going to win any bodybuilding awards, but the way I felt dramatically changed. And my confidence took a massive step forward. The energy that I had was on a different level. It was small, consistent changes over time, constant steps in one direction that led me to that place. But before I could start down that road, the first thing that had to change was my why, the reason that I was doing this. I had to realize that prioritizing my health wasn't selfish. It was actually a responsibility to my family. It was a responsibility to show my gratitude for the life that God had given me and the life that God had called me to lead and the people He was asking me to serve. Once I got clear about my why, then I could start making small, sustainable changes, like prioritizing protein in my macros, cutting out snacking in between meals. I was notorious about being a grazer or just disappearing into the pantry and coming out with maybe 1 or 2 Oreos. but 1 or 2 Oreos start to stack up over time. The good habits stack, but so do the bad ones. So I eliminated snacking. I swapped out the fried regular nuggets at Chick-fil-A for the grilled nuggets whenever I went out for fast food. Instead of getting the fries, I would get the fruit cup. I stopped eating usually by 6:30 at the latest most nights. I would try to even back that up earlier if at all possible. I prioritized sleep with a consistent bedtime and wake up time. I dedicated myself to resistance training 3 to 5 days a week. Typically, it was 3 days of work with a full body routine. And then also at 48, I needed to prioritize recovery time. I also started to do pretty consistent zone 2 cardio on the incline treadmill for about 45 minutes, 3 or 4 times a week, and then 1 time a week of a VO2 max Norwegian 4x4 protocol. Here's what you don't see in that list. There were no crazy diets, no shortcuts. It wasn't a dramatic change. It was just built through consistency. Plus, my wife and I were still able to enjoy life. We would still go on date nights and we'd get the dessert. We'd still have family pizza night, but those were the exceptions rather than the rule. That was something that we would do to treat ourselves, not the consistent way that we lived. And so over the course of 12 months, I lost over 20 pounds. I gained several pounds of muscle. And now I believe I'm in the best shape of my adult life. But the biggest shift isn't in how I look, it's how I feel. It's in the energy that I have. It's in the way that I'm able to be present with my kids, with my wife, with my work every day. Even my spiritual life feels more vibrant because we are not segmented people. We are not compartmentalized into our physical health and our spiritual health. God has given us one life that is an integrated life. So I find that I'm more disciplined in my prayer life when I'm more disciplined with the way that I exercise and with my diet, and vice versa. It all affects each other because discipline is contagious and your physical health affects everything. Now, obviously, we have things that we can't control when it comes to our health physically. I have kids with special needs. My youngest daughter has cystic fibrosis. So there are things that we have to do to manage that condition and to help her be her healthiest self. So not all of us are starting from the same place, but what are you doing with the body and the health that God has given you to take care of, to manage, to multiply, to steward? God gave you one body to carry out your purpose. And the most valuable asset that you'll ever own is that body. I know the excuses pile up that you're too busy, that you don't have time, but here's the truth. You do have time. Your schedule shows what you care about. Show me your calendar and I'll show you your priorities because you don't have to do these hour-long workout sessions. What time do you have to work with? You can start making 10-minute steps towards health every day. You can go on a 10-minute walk after lunch. You can do 3 15-minute workouts throughout the week. Start with what can you do. Sometimes I wouldn't do anything because I couldn't do the full routine that I thought looked like the picture of health that I had in my mind. But you can't start there if you're not working out at all. You can't start running a marathon if you can't even run a mile. So what can you do? What healthy meal choice can you make every day this week? Can you swap out fast food for a healthier option just for lunch? Can you even just make the simple change that I made of switching out the fried nuggets for the grilled nuggets or the French fries for the fruit cup? Start with small changes that you can build on over time. It's not about perfection, but it is about progress. Here's what I found coaching men in the steadfast way and one-on-one. The problem isn't knowledge. We have all the knowledge you could ever need. I can go on ChatGPT, put in all of my goals and my macros and my calories, and it can give me a workout plan. There's so much online and on YouTube where you can educate yourself. So the problem is not knowledge. The problem is accountability because you can't do this alone. You need other people. And if you're a man, you need other men to challenge you and to push you forward and to call you higher on this journey. That's why community matters. And that's why the group that I lead for men, the Steadfast Way, matters. Because we have 5 guardrails that keep us moving towards our goals, that keep us moving towards our calling, that keep us moving in the direction of our priorities. And one of those guardrails is steadfast strength, challenging and training our mind and our body every day. That's why I want to give you the challenge that I give to the men in my group. I want you to choose today, as soon as you're done with this video, to make one sustainable small change that gets you moving in the direction of your priorities, that gets you moving in the direction of having better energy to bring to your family and to your calling and to the work God has put in you to do on this earth. So what's it going to be? What's the step you're going to take? I want you to let me know in the comments, and then I want you to text or tell somebody in your life who can hold you accountable this week. Remember, small wins compound over time. A steadfast life is a life of making one step after another in the direction of your priorities, of what matters most. Don't overcomplicate it, just start it. And let's move towards the life that God has called us to. I'll see you in the next video.